Hi, this is Abby with the Bead Place and beadplace.net, and today I'm going to show you how to make these really cute mummy pendants for Halloween. Aren't these just adorable? So they are out of 26 gauge artistic wire, and I'm going to show you how to make them with a hollow or a semi-hollow inside so that you're not wasting a lot of wire. So the tools that we'll need today are 2 chain nose pliers, or 1 chain nose pliers and 1 flat nose pliers. You're going to need a cutter, and then we're going to need 26 gauge artistic wire. I usually start out with a whole spool just because if you have a mummy who has patchy spots, you want to be able to fill them in. And then you're going to need 2 small beads. Here I have 2 3mm Swarovski crystal bicones. And then those are going to be the eyes, so pick a color that you want for the mummy's eyes. And then you're going to need a jump ring. Now the jump ring that I'm using is a 5mm round tier cast jump ring, but use whatever you think would work for the chain that you're going to put it on. So what I'm going to do is take a length of my 26 gauge artistic wire or craft wire, and you're going to double about a foot of it. So you see how I have it doubled for about a foot? Let me sit back so you can see it. So this is doubled, and so I'm going to start off by folding this into a star shape. So you know when you're drawing a star on paper, you kind of do one of those numbers. So you're going to start with it like this, and this is the bottom of the star. And so we're going to go up and make a bend like this. So you can see how I have a bend. So that's the top part of the star. I'm going to come back and go up to make one of the top sides of the star. So you see how I have it like this. I'm going to come back around this way. And so you see how we have the shape of the star starting to form. These are actually going to be the arms, legs, and head of the mummy. So far we have this. And then we're going to bring this bottom part up just the way we did before. And so you see what we have here. And we have this long tail. What we're going to do with the long tail is just kind of let him hang out for a while. And so we're going to make these a little bit longer and skinnier by pinching them. So that's going to make the legs. And we can secure them in place by twisting them like you would a bread tie. So you're just going to twist, and just twist them at the very base. You're not going to twist them the whole way because you want this whole area here on the arm and on the head to be like a hollow form, and I'll show you how we'll do that in just a second. So we're not going to be wasting a lot of wire. So let me get the tail end out of the way so you can actually see what we have here. So it kind of looks human so far. We're going for like a human form, so hopefully that's what we have. So then the trick to secure everything is to just kind of coil that tail end to get it out of the way. Just wrap it around wherever. And remember, guys, this is a mummy, so it doesn't need to look super precise. So we have kind of a human-looking shape. So what we're going to do is start to bend these doubled areas here so that they are perpendicular to one another. See how it's crossed over? That's going to give us our hollow form so that we don't have to build up as much wire. Now the head, when you're doing the hollow form, you want to kind of push down on it so that it's not as elongated, because we want it to kind of look a little bit more round than limbs. So we're going to do that to all of these little arms and legs that are sticking out. And you can do this with your fingers. If it's hard for you, you can use the tools, but when you use the tools for this particular type of plated artistic wire, you risk scratching the finish off. For the inside base, it's not as important, but when it gets to these tips here, that's where you're actually going to see it. So we're making these hollow forms here, and then we're actually going to start wrapping the mummy. So you see how it's kind of got a hollow form. I'm going to do a pre-shaping so that it kind of looks more like a person. And then we're just going to work straight from the roll and just start to spiral. So this is going to take some time. You want to make it rough and kind of messy looking, otherwise it's not going to look like a mummy. It's going to look like you've just coiled a shape. So we're going to wrap and wrap and wrap. And what I do is wrap around the legs first and get a base down. And if you're really having a hard time getting coils that you like and that are building up fast enough, if you wrap it tight and quickly and then kind of go back on it a little bit, see how that's building up a little thicker as I'm uncoiling? So that's kind of my trick. Then we're going to move on. Once we have kind of a base down, we're going to move on to the arms. And you might have to kind of reshape our ends to get it to still have that hopefully hollow form. If you get kinks in your wire, like what I just did here, it's not going to matter too much. Just wrap over it. And even if it is on the outside, it's no big deal. So you're just going to quickly wrap around. And if your wraps are getting too tight, remember to backtrack a little bit with it. And so then what I start to do is kind of wrap over the neck on one side and under the armpit of the mummy. And I'm just going to do that to kind of build up the chest a little bit. And then you can kind of do the same thing in the opposite direction. So we're building an X over the chest of the mummy. And then you kind of want to give him a belt. You're giving him a waistband here. And then you're going to start to work out more towards his hands a little bit. And so this hollow form is helpful so that we don't have wire slipping off of the ends. It kind of billows out and it gives him a more rounded fist. And so don't worry if the arms are kind of bending a little bit, because we're actually going to bend them straight out afterwards. And we can kind of start to build up on the head of the mummy a little bit as well. But it gets kind of tricky when it starts to change shape a little bit. But mummies aren't perfect. So just kind of build out. This is a really fun project. And it's great to do with kids because they don't have to turn out perfect. So wrapping, 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 wrapping. And you can kind of just cover areas that are a little skinnier than others. And if your wire breaks, often when you bend this thin gauge copper wire back and forth too many times in one spot, like if it kinks and you're trying to undo it, it'll break. If that happens, don't worry about it. I'll show you how to add more wire on a little bit further on in this video. So we're just wrapping, giving him feet. And we're going to go back up and finish off the arms a little bit more. This part's probably boring for you to watch, but that's okay, because it'll pay off. Hopefully you'll enjoy this project. So, alright, now we're going to go up and work on the head. So we see how we have a mummy form. Kind of looks scary a little bit, but that's okay. Just kind of adjust it so that it looks more like a person. And so we're going to wrap around the head. And what happens when we're wrapping around the head is the wire can start to slip down a little bit. That's totally fine. Just keep reshaping and build up. Try to work around that form that we've made. It's going to be tricky, but that is okay. And remember, if you're getting too tight of coils, kind of back up a little bit, uncoil your wire after you've coiled, and it will kind of pooch out a little bit and make it a little bit rounder of a form. So we're going to just work on the head for a good long while, and what can happen sometimes is the wire will spring off of the head. If that happens, you can cut your wire so that you have an end, like give yourself a little bit, cut your wire, and dig in and sew around the head, like act like you're sewing, and secure the ends so that so that it doesn't slip up. So we're just wrapping. And it's okay if he has, if your mommy has bandages and wraps that are kind of at an angle. That's totally fine. It kind of helps to secure some of the wires. So, and you'll start to see at the top of his head here, you'll see down in that it's a hollow form and there's a hole on top. That's good, because that's going to help us when we put the jump ring on later. So I've built the head of the mummy up far enough to where I like it. He's got kind of a chubby head. I'm going to give him a little bit tighter of a neck by just wrapping really tight around the base and kind of lifting some of these wires up. So just kind of play with it until you get a shape that you like. If you're not pleased with the shape of his head, just kind of work more on one side than another. And if you need to tighten some areas, a trick that I do sometimes, like see how the neck is a little bit chubbier down here, what I'll do is just take my pliers and grab a couple wires and turn it to the side so it kind of gives it a kink there. So that's a couple ways to get the wire tighter in areas. So just going to wrap around a couple more times to make the neck a little bit more in a shape that I like. And then I'm going to cut about an arm's length, so you can't see it, but my arms are outstretched. And I am going to thread on the eyes. So you're just going to thread the little seed beads or crystals, whatever you have. Looks really cute with crystals, though, let me tell you that. You're going to thread those on all the way down to your little mummy's head. And you're going to pick which side you think looks the best. So just kind of pick the side, and then you're going to place those kind of near the top so that it looks like eyes. And then keep wrapping around. So they're going to move around a little bit. That's okay, because you're going to kind of push them back into place once you get the wire secured down. So you can see how the little mummy has eyes. What I'm going to do to further secure them is wrap the wire around in an X between the eyes. So let me get this so you can see it. I'm crossing the wire in between the eyes, and I'm going to come around and do the same thing in the opposite direction. So if your wire's slipping a little bit, just do a couple coils between each time you pass through, and just position the eyes where you want them to be. Then my secret to make it really look like a mummy is to wrap around the top of the eyes a bunch of times, and then around the bottom of the eyes a bunch of times to get it to look like it's peeking out of bandages. And it kind of makes it look like the eyes are set in a little bit more. So I'm just going to do that, and I will show you what it looks like. I'm going to use my pliers and just tweak one of my wires down a little bit into place. Whoops. And again, be careful anytime you're using pliers, because I almost just nicked some color off of the wire. So around the bottom and around the top. And just kind of bend them into place. Alright, just a couple more times around. And really it just takes some adjusting to get it the way you want. But see how the wire is wrapped around the top like this and the bottom so that it looks like the eyes are set in a little bit. And what I normally do to make sure the head is secure after I have the eyes in a position where I want them is I'll go back around the body of the mummy a couple more times so that if anything happens to get caught or spring, you're not going to lose the eyes, and hopefully the head isn't going to coil and spring up. So you just can kind of go around the limbs a couple more times. And so when you have a tail piece about that long, what you can do is take the wire, or the pliers, grab the wire, and just bend the end up like that, and just use the pliers to just push it into one of the coils wherever you are done. So then we're going to push his arms forward so that he looks like he's coming to get you. And then with our pliers, we are going to open the jump ring. Now, the proper way to open a jump ring is with the break at 12 o'clock. And grab the entire side of one, or grab the entire one side of the jump ring, bring the other pliers in this way, rock it open, and it needs to be open enough that we can actually hook a portion of the wires on the inside. So you see how it's kind of hollow there. We're just going to dig in and grab some of the wires. And remember, this jump ring needs to be in the right direction so that we can put it on a necklace. So we're going to do that. You see how it's hooked through some of the wires. And we're going to close it. And we have a cute little mummy. So he can join all his little mummy friends. So you can see that each one has their own shape and personality, and they make great gifts. So thanks for watching, and happy Halloween.